people, guess what? Today I'm gonna draw Disney princesses, but Marvel version. So grab your popcorn cause this is gonna be so sassy. Okay, so first princess is gonna be Snow White. Okay, so let me tell you the story here. Once upon a time, in a carved kingdom wrapped in forests and mountains, a queen sat by her window on a winter's day sewing with delicate hands. Snowflakes drifted through the sky like feathers. As she sewed, she pricked her finger and 3 drops of blood fell upon the snow on the windowsill. The red on the white looked so striking that she whispered a wish. I wish for a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. So that's her wish. So not long after, a baby girl was born. She was just as the queen had wished, and they named her Snow White. But the queen grew weak and passed away, leaving the king and the baby behind. In time, the king remarried. His new queen was beautiful, but her heart was cold. She possessed a magic mirror, and every day she would ask it, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would always answer, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." So years passed, and Snow White grew into a young girl, gentle, kind, and radiant. One day, the mirror gave a different answer. "Queen, you are fair, but Snow White is fairer still." The queen's jealousy burned. She could not bear to be second in beauty. She summoned a huntsman and gave him a terrible order. "Take Snow White into the forest and do not let her return. Bring me proof." The huntsman led the king deep into the trees, but when he raised his knife, he could not do it. Her innocent eyes had trust. He could not harm her. "Run," he whispered. "Run far and never come back." Snow White ran through the forest, frightened and alone. As night fell, she found a tiny cottage hidden among the trees. Inside, everything was small. Small chairs, small bowls, and 7 little beds. Tired and afraid, she curled up on the beds and fell asleep. When the 7 dwarfs returned from their work in the mines, they found her there. At first, they were surprised, but when they saw her kindness, they welcomed her into their home. "You may stay with us," they said, "if you keep the house tidy and safe." Snow White agreed, and the days became gentle and happy. But back at the castle, the queen again asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And again it answered, "Queen, you are fair, but Snow White beyond the hills with the 7 dwarfs is fairer still." Enraged, the queen disguised herself as an old peddler and traveled to the dwarf's cottage. She offered Snow White a lace for her bodice, tight and beautiful. When Snow White let her in, the queen pulled the lace so tightly that Snow White fainted. The dwarfs returned just in time to revive her. Twice more, the queen came in disguise, once with a poison comb and last with a red apple that gleamed like a ruby. "Just one bite," said the old woman. Snow White bit the apple and fell to the floor still as stone. The dwarfs were heartbroken. They could not bury her, for she looked only asleep. So they made a glass coffin and placed it in the woods, where the birds sang to her and the seasons changed around her. One day, a prince came through the forest and saw her lying there as if in a dream. He had heard of her beauty, but nothing prepared him for her presence. "Let me take her to my castle," he asked the dwarfs, "that she may be honored." As they lifted the coffin, the piece of poison apple was dislodged from her throat. Snow White stared. Her eyes opened. She was alive. Joy filled the forest. The dwarfs wept. The prince took her hand, and in time they were wed. The whole kingdom rejoiced. The wicked queen, when she heard the news, fled in shame and was never seen again. And Snow White lived long and happily, her beauty matched only by her gentle heart. So here we go, Snow White as a model. Well, it turned out good than I expected, so I'm gonna give 8.5 out of 10. Yeah. Okay, so the next princess is gonna be Princess Merida. Well, personally, I like this princess. So anyway, so long ago in the misty highlands of ancient Scotland, there lived a young princess named Merida. She had fiery red hair like the setting sun and a spirit as wild and free as the wind through the mountains. She was the daughter of King Fergus, a mighty warrior known for defeating a fearsome bear, and Queen Eleanor, a graceful and wise ruler who upheld the traditions of their kingdom, Dunbridge. Merida loved adventure. She loved to ride her horse, Angus, across the green hills, to climb tall cliffs, and to shoot arrows with a skill unmatched by any warrior. But most of all, Merida longed to make her own choices, to follow her heart rather than be bound by the rules of royalty. As she grew older, Queen Eleanor began to prepare Merida for her future as queen. One day, the queen announced that the time had come for Merida to choose a suitor. One of the firstborn sons from the 3 allied clans would compete for her hand in marriage. This news struck Merida like a cold wind. She did not wish to marry, not yet. She wanted to decide her own fate. The clans gathered, each presenting their champion in a traditional contest of strength and skill. But Merida, clever and bold, surprised everyone by entering the contest herself. She chose archery, her greatest skill, and with calm precision, she outshot every suitor. Her final arrow split the bull's eye in two. Though the crowd cheered, Queen Eleanor was furious. An argument followed, fierce and painful. Words were spoken that left deep marks on their hearts. In a moment of anger, Merida tore a tapestry showing her family right through the image of her mother. In sorrow and frustration, Merida fled into the forest. There, she followed a trail of glowing blue wisps, mysterious below the wisps, said to lead one to their destiny. The wisps led her to a hidden cottage where she met a strange old woodcarver who was secretly a witch. Merida asked the witch for a spell to change her fate. The witch gave her a cake, saying it would do just that. Merida returned home and gave the enchanted cake to her mother, but instead of changing her mind, it changed her form. Queen Eleanor was transformed into a great black bear. Horrified, Merida fled with her bear mother into the forest. They were soon joined by Merida's mischievous little brothers, who has tasted the cake and turned into bear cubs. Merida and her mother, now living in the wild, had to work together to survive. They learned to listen to each other in a way without words. Merida began to understand the weight of her mother's responsibilities, and Eleanor saw the courage and wisdom in her daughter's heart. But danger was near. Mordu, a monster bear cursed long ago, still roamed the land. He had once been a prince like Merida, proud and strong, but his selfish wish for power had turned him into a beast forever. When he attacked, Merida and Eleanor fought together bravely. In a final battle, Eleanor managed to drive Mordu into a falling stone, ending his centuries of darkness. As dawn broke, Merida rushed to mend the tapestry she had torn, stitching it back together with love. She draped it over her mother, praying it would break the spell. Just as the sun rose, the curse lifted. Eleanor turned back into herself, human once more. The kingdom rejoiced. Merida and her mother, now closer than ever, returned home. Queen Eleanor no longer pushed her daughter to marry right away, and Merida, though still strong-willed, had learned the value of listening, love, and compromise. From that day on, Princess Merida was known not only for her wild spirit and archery, but for courage to change her fate, not through magic, but through understanding and love. And so, in the hills of Dunbridge, where the wind sings through the stones and the willows wisps still dance, the legend of Princess Merida lives on. Okay, so I kind of like this one, so I'm gonna give 10 out of 10. Why not? Okay, so the last princess is gonna be Ariel. Okay, story time. Far beneath the shimmering surface of the sea, where sunlight dances on waves and coral reefs of bloom in vibrant colors, there lived a young mermaid princess named Ariel. She was the youngest daughter of King Triton, the mighty ruler of the underwater kingdom of Atlantica. Ariel had long, flowing red hair and curious heart, and a voice as pure and beautiful as the sea breeze. Unlike her sisters, Ariel was endlessly fascinated by the human world. While others collected pearls and played in kelp gardens, Ariel spent her days exploring shipwrecks, gathering human treasures, and imagining what life might be on land. Her dearest friend, a little yellow fish named Flounder, often accompanied her on these adventures, though he was much less brave. There was also Sebastian, a crab and royal advisor, who constantly tried to keep Ariel out of trouble, but rarely succeeded. One night, while swimming to the surface, Ariel spotted a shiplet with glowing lanterns. On board was a handsome young man, Prince Eric. Ariel watched him in a wave as he laughed with his crew and played his flute. Suddenly, a terrible storm rolled in. The sea roared, lightning flashed, and the ship was torn apart by the waves. Eric was thrown into the sea. Without hesitation, Ariel dove into the chaos and rescued him. She brought him to shore and stayed by his side until he opened his eyes. Before he could fully awake, she slipped back into the sea, singing softly to him as she disappeared. Though Eric only caught a glimpse of her and heard her song, he never forgot it. Back in Atlantica, King Triton was furious when he discovered Ariel's fascination with humans. He feared the danger of the surface and forbade her from ever returning. But Ariel's heart was already full of longing for Prince Eric and for the chance to walk and live on land. Desperate, Ariel sought out Ursula, the sea witch who lived in the dark, twisted corners of the ocean. Ursula offered her a deal. Ariel would become human for 3 days if she could get Eric to fall in love with her and share a true love's kiss before the sun set on the 3rd day. She could stay human forever, but if she failed, she would belong to Ursula. And the price of the spell? Ariel's voice. Ariel agreed, and with a swirl of dark magic, her tail was transformed into legs. Speechless but determined, she was found by Eric on the beach. Though he didn't recognize her as the girl who saved him, he was drawn to her kindness, her laughter, and her spirit. They spent joyful days together, sailing, dancing, and walking along the shore. But time was running out. Just as Ariel and Eric began to grow closer, Ursula appeared on land in disguise, using Ariel's stolen voice to enhance Eric. What the heck? Pretending to be the mysterious girl who saved him, Ursula cast a spell to make Eric forget Ariel entirely. Ariel watched in silence as the prince prepared to marry this false bride. On the morning of the wedding, Ariel's friend discovered the truth. With the help of Sebastian Flounder and a flock of seabirds disrupted the ceremony. Ariel's voice was returned to her. Breaking the spell, Eric realized it had been Ariel all along, but the sun had already set, and Ariel began to change back into a mermaid. Ursula dragged her back into the sea, claiming her as her own. A fierce battle followed. King Triton arrived offering himself in Ariel's place, but in an act of courage and love, Prince Eric dove into the ocean and defeated Ursula, saving both Ariel and her father. Moved by Ariel's bravery and her deep love for Eric, King Triton finally understood. He used his magic to grant her a gift, a new life on land with legs and a voice forever. Ariel and Eric were married by the sea with mermaids, humans, and sea creatures celebrating together. Ariel had followed her heart, crossed worlds, and proved that love, courage, and hope can bridge even the deepest oceans. And so, Princess Ariel began her new life on land, never forgetting the sea that shaped her and the song that started it all. And here we go, model Princess Ariel. So I'm thinking this like 8.5 out of 10, I guess. Okay, so that's it for the video and hope you guys enjoyed it. So let's see from the next video. Bye.